Welcome to the Explainer. So today we're talking about a single dam, but it's a dam that's a huge source of pride for one country and, well, a pretty serious threat to another. It's an absolute marvel of engineering that could change an entire continent, but it all comes down to one thing: water. We're talking about the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam.
All right, let's just start with a huge number. $80 billion. That's the kind of economic impact this one dam could have in the long run. 80 billion. But here's the crazy part. The dam itself, it only cost $5 billion to build. And that, right there, is the big question we're digging into. How in the world does a $5 billion investment in concrete and turbines create an economic ripple effect worth 16 times its price tag? We're going to break down the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or the Gerd as it's known, to find out. So where is all that money, that $80 billion, actually coming from? Well, it's not about the concrete and steel of the dam itself. Nope. It's all about the massive economic ripple effect it's designed to kick off.
Okay, first up, the obvious one: selling electricity. We're talking about a cool $1.1 billion every single year. But, that's really just the tip of the iceberg. All that cheap, reliable power and water is going to supercharge farming, adding billions to the country's GDP. The giant lake it creates, that reservoir, becomes its own little economy with new fishing and tourism industries. You add it all up, and what you get is a path to real economic independence for Ethiopia. So you see all this incredible economic potential, right? But to really get why it's worth $80 billion, you got to appreciate the $5 billion thing that makes it all possible. And let me tell you, this dam is an absolute giant.
Yeah, this is no ordinary dam. We're talking about the biggest hydroelectric project in all of Africa. Just try to picture this: a wall of concrete almost 150 meters high, holding back a lake with 74 times billion cubic meters of water. That is some serious power, and it's what's going to generate over 5,000 megawatts.
And building a giant like this, well, it's been a marathon, a 14-year marathon to be exact. It all kicked off way back in 2011. They started generating their first power in 2022, and now they're finally hitting the home stretch, with the big official party planned for late 2025.
So the big question is, how do you pay for a $5 billion mega project? And this is where it gets really interesting. Ethiopia made a huge decision. They decided to fund it almost entirely themselves. We're talking government bonds, even private donations from Ethiopians all over the world. This was more than just a money thing. It was a powerful statement that they were in control. But that kind of fierce national pride, it runs headfirst into a really big problem. The Nile River, you see, it doesn't just belong to Ethiopia. And when you build a dam on a river that multiple countries share, you're not just playing with water, you're playing with decades of really complex politics. And this is where you get to the heart of the whole conflict. It really boils down to two completely different ways of seeing the world. For Ethiopia, this dam is their sovereign right. It's the key to their future. But for Egypt, a country that gets over 90% of its fresh water from the Nile, well, for them, this dam feels like a threat to their very survival. So Egypt is demanding a legally binding deal on how the dam works. But after years and years of talks, they're at a total stalemate.
And then you've got Sudan, stuck right in the middle, literally. On one hand, they could get a ton of benefits, like flood control and cheap electricity. But on the other hand, they're really worried about the safety of their own dams just downstream if Ethiopia doesn't coordinate things perfectly. So you can see why Sudan's position has kind of bounced back and forth over the years, sometimes leaning towards Ethiopia and other times siding with Egypt.
Okay, so with all this political drama swirling around, let's get back to basics. What does this dam actually do? Let's zoom out a bit and look at the real-world impact this thing is going to have. Everything, and I mean everything, comes down to this one number: 5,150 megawatts. That's the raw power this dam is built to produce. And let's be super clear, that number isn't just some tech spec on a blueprint. It's the key that could unlock the entire future of Ethiopia's economy. Just to give you some perspective on what that means, the Gerd is expected to more than double Ethiopia's entire electricity production. Think about that. One single project doubling the power for a whole country. That's enough juice to power up huge new industries, connect millions of people to the grid for the first time, and even start selling power to its neighbors. But here's the thing. This future is a real double-edged sword. It's a delicate balance. On the one side, you have huge benefits. The dam can stop terrible floods and trap all the gunk that clogs up other dams. But on the other side, there are serious risks. that huge lake is going to lose a ton of water to evaporation. And if they don't work together, especially during a drought, it could make water shortages downstream even worse.
And that brings us all the way back to that $80 billion question, doesn't it? The dam is built, the turbines are spinning, but what its real legacy will be, well, that's still up in the air. Is this thing going to be a shining example of how countries can work together, or is it going to be a source of conflict for generations to come? Honestly, the answer to that question is going to shape the future for millions of people.